Okay, so get this. We're diving into the world of an animal that's practically invisible.
Really puts a whole new spin on needle in a haystack, doesn't it?
You got that right. We're talking about an animal that lives in a territory larger than Texas, a good chunk of which is still unexplored. And trying to study it, well, let's just say you need a healthy dose of patience and maybe a dash of luck.
I can only imagine. So what exactly are we dealing with here?
We're talking about the ghost of the mountains, the snow leopard, an animal so elusive it makes Houdini look like an amateur.
And I'm guessing that makes research a tad challenging.
You could say that. You've sent over some seriously interesting articles and research about these mysterious creatures, and honestly, I'm impressed. It's like they've mastered the art of disappearing.
It's a puzzle, that's for sure. Scientists are still piecing together the bigger picture, one clue at a time. And their elusiveness, yeah, it's definitely a huge part of the intrigue. But that also makes conservation a pretty daunting task. Imagine trying to protect an animal that's practically a phantom.
Seriously, it boggles the mind. So before we even get to the how of their disappearing act, let's talk numbers. How do we even know how many of these elusive cats are out there?
Well, the latest estimates from the Snow Leopard Trust suggest there are somewhere between 3,920 and 6,390 mature snow leopards left in the wild. And that's a generous estimate.
Wow, that's incredibly low. No wonder they're considered a high conservation priority. But I have to ask, how do you even begin to track down an animal that's practically a phantom? And where are they even found?
Think vast, think rugged, think remote. These guys are spread across 12 countries throughout Central Asia. The Himalayas, the Tibetan Plateau, even those unforgiving mountains of Afghanistan. Talk about a tough neighborhood.
No kidding, that's a huge area to cover. And you said 12 countries?
Yep, 12 in total. But here's a jaw-dropper. A whopping 60% of their habitat. It's all concentrated in China.
China. Wow, that's a significant chunk. But hold on, if we've only explored around 30% of their habitat, wouldn't that suggest there might be more snow leopards out there than we think?
You're onto something. That's what makes this research so exciting. Every new study has the potential to uncover something groundbreaking.
So we're talking about an animal that's incredibly rare, incredibly elusive, and lives in some of the most extreme environments on Earth. They must be one tough cookie to survive up there.
You say that again. And those adaptations, they're the real deal. Take that stunning white-gray coat, for example. Those large black rosettes, they aren't just for show, you know? We're talking incredible camouflage in their rocky, high-altitude habitat.
It's like they were born to blend in.
Exactly. They disappear right into those mountainscapes.
Camouflage is definitely key when you're that elusive. But I bet it takes more than a stylish coat to thrive in those conditions.
So absolutely. Every part of them, from nose to tail, is fine-tuned for survival in those extreme environments. Let's start with those paws. Wider than your average cat, which is perfect for navigating all that snow. And their ears, short, rounded, and designed to minimize heat loss.
Smart, right?
Talk about being perfectly equipped. What about that thick tail? It's hard to miss. Ugh, the tail. It's like a built-in scarf and a balancing pole all rolled into one. Multifunctional, just like everything else about them.
Speaking of multifunctional, I remember reading about their incredible jumping abilities. It's not every day you see a cat leaping over a school bus.
Now that's an image. It's all thanks to those powerful hind legs. We're talking jumps 6 times their body length. Imagine being a blue sheep, just munching on some grass, and suddenly, bam, a snow leopard appears out of thin air. Talk about a surprise attack.
I don't think I'd have time to react. Those hunting skills must be top-notch to take down prey 3 times their size. What kind of menu are we talking about here?
Well, their diet is pretty diverse, depends on what's available in their territory. They're opportunistic hunters, always ready for a meal. But in the Himalayas, their go-to is the Himalayan blue sheep.
Makes sense, but I bet they don't stop there.
You're right. They've also been known to go after Siberian ibex and even the occasional wild boar. Talk about a fearless feline.
A wild boar. Those are some brave cats. So it sounds like they're not afraid of a challenge, but what about in other parts of their range? What's on the menu there?
Well, if we're talking about the Karakoram and Tian Shan mountain ranges, think Siberian ibex again, but also Thorold's deer, Siberian roe deer, and those impressive Argali sheep.
Wow, it's like a true mountain menu. It's clear they're well adapted to finding food in this challenging landscape. But with a range that vast, and with human populations pushing further into their territory, I can't help but wonder about the conflict that must come.
Sadly, you're right, and it's a growing problem. As human populations grow and livestock needs increase, well, those encounters, they're becoming more and more common.
Makes sense. More people, more livestock, less space for everyone.
Exactly. And when a snow leopard can't find its usual prey, it might just turn to an easier target.
Let me guess. A farmer's livestock.
Bingo! It's a recipe for conflict, that's for sure.
Yeah, I can't imagine farmers are too thrilled about that.
It's a major issue, no doubt about it. Farmers depend on their livestock. It's their livelihood. So sometimes they resort to drastic measures, to protect their herds.
That's heartbreaking. It sounds like these animals are facing threats from all sides. We've touched on habitat loss and poaching, but what's the full picture here?
It's a perfect storm, really. You've got poaching for their pelts, bones, those sorts of things. Highly valued on the black market, sadly.
It's always about money, isn't it?
It often is. And then there's the habitat loss we talked about, from human populations expanding, mining operations, even climate change.
Climate change. I wouldn't think a mountain-dwelling cat would be that affected by something like that.
You'd be surprised. As temperatures rise, the tree line is creeping higher and higher up the mountains. Shrinks the snow leopard's habitat, which is already limited, forces them to compete for less and less territory, fewer resources.
So climate change is literally squeezing them out of their home.
In a nutshell, some studies estimate that climate change could wipe out almost a third of their alpine habitat just in the Himalayas alone.
A third of their home. That's devastating. So not only are they dealing with poaching and habitat loss because of human activities, but now climate change is adding another layer to it all. It's a pretty bleak picture.
It is, and it really highlights how interconnected all these environmental issues are. We can't address snow leopard conservation without tackling climate change. They go hand in hand.
It's sobering, to say the least. But let's talk about the more hopeful side of things. What's being done to protect these incredible creatures?
There's a lot of amazing work being done, actually. Organizations like the Snow Leopard Trust and the WWF, they're on the front lines of snow leopard conservation.
What kind of work are they doing? Give me some details.
They're tackling the problem from all angles, supporting anti-poaching patrols, trying to reduce the demand for snow leopard parts in those illegal markets. But they're also working directly with communities in snow leopard habitats.
I imagine that community engagement is key, especially when it comes to preventing those human-wildlife conflicts.
Absolutely. Take the WWF, for example. They've been helping communities build predator-proof corrals for their livestock, even setting up insurance programs that compensate herders if they lose animals to snow leopards.
That's really smart. It addresses the immediate problem, but also builds goodwill and understanding along the way.
Exactly. It's about finding solutions that work for everyone involved.
Finding that balance is key. So we've got international cooperation, community-based initiatives, dedicated organizations, all working to save snow leopards. That's got to give you some hope.
It does. It's a team effort, and every bit counts. But there's another piece to this conservation puzzle: research. We talked about how hard it is to study these animals, their elusiveness, that camouflage. So how do researchers actually learn about them?
That's what I'm wondering. It's not like you can just walk up to a snow leopard and, slap a GPS collar on it.
You're right. Researchers have had to get really creative.
Okay, so spill the tea. What are these researchers doing? How do you study a ghost?
Think like a ghost hunter. One of their most valuable tools is the camera trap. Motion-activated cameras hidden in snow leopard territory.
And they do what with that?
Every image is like gold. Here's the cool part, though. Researchers can actually identify individual snow leopards just from their spots. Every cat's got a unique pattern, like a fingerprint.
No way. So they're building a database of individual snow leopards without ever actually seeing them in person.
You got it. And with that information, they can track their movements, estimate population sizes, even get a glimpse into their social behavior. All thanks to some cleverly placed cameras and a bit of pattern recognition.
It's like a real-life detective story. What else are they doing? Besides playing wildlife photographer, of course.
Get this, they're using something called non-invasive genetic sampling.
Non-invasive genetic sampling. Sounds intense. Break it down for me. What is it?
It's not as complicated as it sounds. It basically boils down to this: they're analyzing snow leopard scat.
Hold on. Scat, as in...
Yep, you guessed it.
Droppings, poop.
Snow leopard poop. Seriously.
Hey, don't underestimate the power of poop science.
Okay, I'll bite. What can you learn from,
You'd be amazed. We're talking diet, sex, even family relationships. It's a goldmine of information, I tell you.
Who knew snow leopard poop could be so revealing?
It's a game changer for understanding these elusive cats, believe me. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. Their rarity, those incredible adaptations, their hunting strategies, the threats they face, the amazing conservation work being done. What's the main takeaway for someone hearing all this for the first time? What's the big picture message?
I think the most important thing to remember is this. Even though snow leopards live in these remote, high-altitude regions, they're not immune to the impact of human activities.
Everything's connected, right?
Exactly. Climate change, habitat loss, the illegal wildlife trade. These are all challenges that are impacting snow leopards and countless other species. Their fate is intertwined with our own.
It's a stark reminder that our choices have consequences.
Absolutely. But hey, it's not all doom and gloom. The conservation efforts we talked about, they show the power of human ingenuity, the power of collaboration. We have the knowledge, the tools, and the passion to make a real difference.
And for anyone listening who wants to learn more or get involved, where should they go?
The Snow Leopard Trust and WWF websites are great places to start. They're both doing phenomenal work.
Couldn't agree more. So as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of snow leopards, I'm left with this overwhelming sense of awe for these incredible creatures.
Yeah.
And a deep appreciation for all those dedicated people working tirelessly to protect them.
But I have to admit, one question keeps popping into my head. You know how we talked about their elusive nature, their solitary habits?
Yeah.
What if there's more to the story than meets the eye?
What do you mean? Well, think about it. If they're so good at hiding, so good at blending in, how can we be absolutely sure they're as solitary as we think?
I see where you're going with this.
Could there be secret gatherings we don't know about? Hidden communities? Cooperative hunting strategies we haven't even glimpsed?
It's definitely a tantalizing thought.
It makes you realize how much we still don't know about the natural world, even about an animal as iconic as the snow leopard. There's always more to discover, more to learn, and more to protect.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the world of the snow leopard. It's a journey that's left me with more questions than answers, but also with a renewed sense of wonder, a commitment to learning more. Until next time, keep exploring.